In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at some up and down temperatures where the summer heat and some of that cold that is still left over from the winter and even the spring are going to clash, and there is going to be a back and forth battle between those two air masses. And there is a huge question mark as to late June if we're going to see the cold or that warmth win out. So we're going to be discussing that today alongside some general storminess, a lot of severe weather to discuss. I think there's 3 extended day severe weather outlooks, so we just have a lot of active severe weather coming up and overall general storms. So let's go ahead and take a look at things here, and we're starting out with our 14-day 2-meter temperature anomalies, and this is the past 14 days, of course. We do see that there has been a lot of warmth along the west. That has been the case for pretty much most of the last, I would say, 12 months. Really, we saw it throughout the fall, winter. We didn't see as much of it during the spring, but we have seen this resurge throughout May and now into early June. So this has just been the case for a while now. And this encourages cold air to work its way into the central and eastern states, which we have seen happen. But there has been this warming trend along the eastern seaboard going on for probably close to a week now, where we have seen summer start to win out, or at least at average temperatures, if not mostly above average temperatures in here. So definitely a very active area. Now, as we take a look at the upcoming temperature pattern, we're just going to move this towards tomorrow. So let's look at Saturday on the 14th. And we see that a lot of the western seaboard is a little bit cooler. But for the most part, we're seeing mostly warmth throughout the western states as a whole. And as you can see, a lot of cold air working its way into the eastern states for Saturday. So it is a little cooler than it has been actually for the past 5 to 7 days. Sunday, a lot of the same. Even Monday, the 16th, although we're seeing some warming, especially for the north, it is pretty similar still. I'm going to take us straight towards Tuesday on the 17th, where now this area that has seen the most warming over the past 7 days is actually the one that's expected to have the most cooling in the east over the next 7 days, whereas those areas that remained colder over the past 7 days are now warming. So we're seeing kind of this reversal. It's really strange, and I'm very curious to see where this puts us once it's all said and done. We're looking back at it. Now, as we take a look at Wednesday on the 18th, it is a very messy look in the east, where we have pockets of warmth, pockets of cold. But really looking at this, I would say this is mostly warmth. But certainly the west is going to be primarily warm. So still that positive PNA in full effect. We do have some cooler conditions, especially along the northwest coast, up into western Canada, but really still a positive PNA primarily in effect. Thursday the 19th, things are getting interesting though. We're seeing some troughing along that northwest area. It looks like we might want to shift into a positive or a negative PNA pattern where we're seeing the warmth mostly winning out in the east, and that cold is trying to recycle back into the west here. Let's see if this sticks around, because this is either going to win or it's not. But let's go ahead and take a look at what happens by Friday. And yeah, this area here is the coolest area in the lower 48. But there is still a lot of warmth putting up a good fight there in the west. It's primarily warm in the central and eastern states still by this point. So think pretty similar to how the past 5 days have been, maybe a bit warmer than that for Friday on the 20th. Moving towards Saturday the 21st, we actually see an expanding and more intense look to this cold air over the northwest, still quite warm over the southwest. And really the east, this is one of those kind of battle moments where we have the cold sinking down throughout a lot of the Great Lakes and northeast areas, but we have this warmth moving up from the Gulf and kind of meeting up with it. Don't be surprised if this time frame here, something like this, leads to a lot of thunderstorms. That's typically what you would expect to see in a pattern like this, where there's a huge conflict between this warm, humid air mass and the cooler, drier air mass. Definitely what I'm anticipating there, although it is right around 10 days out, so it is further out, keep in mind. And Sunday the 22nd, I mean, look at this. This looks like a developing negative PNA to me. which I think would encourage maybe our first heat wave in the east if it sticks around. So let's see if it does by Monday. And yeah, let's see. This is when things get a little hairy because now we've seen that colder air mass move further inland, and we're starting to see warming again along the west. Unfortunately, we quickly get a lot of heat moving in for Monday on the 23rd here for a lot of these eastern areas, but how long-lived will it be? Because by Tuesday the 24th, we do see more warming trying to take place for probably 50-50 out there in the west. And again, we're still seeing this battle between the cooler and the warmer in the east. By Wednesday the 25th, it looks the same. And it's not until about the 28th when this model wants to really resurge a lot of this warmth in the west and start to drop a lot more colder air into the east. Time will tell, of course, if we see this even happen, because it's well beyond 10 days. So this is well into the pattern, and I would say this is definitely something you should take with a grain of salt. But I feel more encouraged, actually, by today's model runs than yesterday's. So take that as you will, but I feel like this can't last forever, obviously. So we're going to see it break up at some point, and it could be sometime soon. It could be sometime after the 28th here. Who knows? We're going to try to indicate that. We have a good chance of it happening upcoming, but it might not. I've felt that way for sure before. For today on Friday the 13th, as far as storminess, it's not hard to find at all. We have most of the central and eastern states dealing with isolated and scattered pockets of thunderstorms at least. Mostly this is coming in the form of your hot, humid thunderstorms that are just popping up because the environment is so ripe for it. If you've stepped outside over the last few days, you might have noticed that it is excessively humid in a lot of these areas. It has just been really oppressive. As we keep going towards Saturday, a lot of the same can be found again in the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, a lot of the Deep South as well. Just continuous thunderstorms popping up, even by Sunday the 15th here. A lot of the Deep South and Southeast are still seeing that. We are getting some more scattered about thunderstorms for these areas in the central and northern plains, the upper Midwest, even some of those very far northwestern plains like eastern Montana and eastern Wyoming, seeing thunderstorms popping up, which some people don't know, but this area actually gets really bad severe weather. Even this area in here, like Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, we many times, see tornado events in this area. So this isn't just mountainous showers. People think of Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and they just think mountains, right? They don't understand that there is so many different climates in these states. It's very dynamic and really interesting, honestly, when you learn about it. So these should be taken very seriously. If you live there, of course, but just for the education of the viewers from every state, I think it is interesting to learn about. Monday on the 16th, we still see some thunderstorms in those areas, not as much. It's really as we move into this area, there is just, again, really large areas of isolated and scattered chances of thunderstorms, even by Monday the 16th. Tuesday the 17th, again, seeing these areas very close to the Rockies, seeing these thunderstorms, maybe severe weather. But this eastern area, where can we rule out thunderstorms in here, really? I can't find you an eastern state where I could tell you probably not going to see thunderstorms. I guess Rhode Island. Rhode Island doesn't have any green over it, but even then, this is still 100 hours out, so with storms that close, you still can't rule it out, but that's the only area that we're not really seeing it. This is a crazy look. And people wonder, why is the forecast, 30, 40, 50% chance of thunderstorms daily? And this is why. This is why right here. As we take a look at Wednesday on the 18th, another day, probably like the 5th one in a row now, where there is large pockets of thunderstorms occurring. 1,000 millibar low pressure center there over southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois area. Hard to even see if this one has a lot of dynamics at play. I feel like it does have a dragging cold front, though, that probably is bringing a little bit more elevated chances of severe weather for this pocket here. We'll see on the long range severe weather guidance, but 993 by the time we're reaching Thursday the 19th. Dragging cold front, a little bit of a warm front. So expect this to be a pretty warm day along the east. And bad thunderstorms coming along this cold front boundary should be anticipated. By the time we're reaching Friday, look at that. That cold front really knocks out the chance of these daily thunderstorms. There is still some pockets of isolated thunderstorm activity, but definitely a lot less active than we saw for every single day prior to this point, basically. Saturday the 20th, another weaker low wants to move towards the northeast this time, and it looks like it does have a little bit of a cold front, warm front dynamic, where we're seeing this slight warming up this northeast coast, and some pretty bad thunderstorms perhaps for this interior northeast area, as well as like Ohio there. Moving along, I mean, Sunday the 22nd is relatively quiet. We do have a little bit of a more elevated low here over the Dakotas. We even have another one right behind it for Canada. So what's interesting is you kind of get this warm front look, and then you jump right into the next one, warm front look again. It's all kind of connected here. Even some spotty snowfall there for the high elevations of Montana by June 22nd, which just feels crazy. We'll have to see if either of these develop a cold front, though, over the coming hours after this. And yeah, I think it's this one that's at the forefront of everything. By Monday morning, it looks like we do have... Or is this a warm front above this low? I mean, it's really hard to say. Either way, I think there's a good chance of thunderstorms in here if this does occur. This is actually exactly at the 10-day mark, so take it with a grain of salt right beyond this point. Moving towards the pattern after that, I mean, we get these kind of dynamic lows moving through. Nothing crazy, and it looks like by the time we're reaching late June, we do move back into a very active, very stagnant thunderstorm pattern here for a lot of the Midwest, Plains, Ohio Valley, Deep South, East Coast area. All of these regions, again, really being hard to rule out thunderstorms for. Total precipitation with this daily activity is going to be pretty high for all of these areas. But the areas that see a lot of these lows move through in addition to those daily thunderstorms, like the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, even some of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic there, that is where we're going to see the most excessive precipitation. So let's look at the anomalies. And as you can see, pretty far above average here for, again, the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Appalachian Mountain Range, into some of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast as well. Really active, really active there. Looking at some of the Storm Prediction Center outlooks, here's day one. In the lighter green area, we can expect general thunderstorms, not severe weather. It isn't expected at least, but anything is possible, and they do get this wrong more often than you'd think. So be sure to heed every watch, warning, and advisory. The two dark green areas there, it's going to be your level 1 marginal risk, where we expect isolated severe weather to occur. Your yellow area there, just to the east of the Rockies, coincidentally, the area I was just talking about, we have a level 2 slight risk where we expect scattered about severe weather, and even an enhanced risk there for central Montana. So again, a lot of these lower elevation areas just to the east of the mountains can see really bad thunderstorms, and oftentimes they're actually supercells too. So tornadic and causing hail a lot of times. So we'll be watching for all of those effects. Day 2, Saturday the 14th, we see again the general thunderstorm risk area, the marginal risk, and the slight risk there. Day 3 for Sunday on the 15th, general thunderstorm risk, 2 marginal risks, and a slight risk up there again in the more northern plains and even some of those Rockies states. Day 4, which will be Monday on the 16th, we have this yellow area in the extended range for South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska, as well as a county or two of Wisconsin. That's going to translate roughly to at least a slight risk. Oftentimes we can see even more. Day 5, it lowers a little bit for Tuesday on the 17th, where we have a slight risk expected in that yellow area. And then day 6, we see some of the kind of Midwest areas dealing with this same thing for Wednesday on the 18th. And that is about it. So a lot of outlooks here. Definitely expecting a big uptick in that severe weather. So we're going to be watching that closely as we're reaching towards the halfway point of this very active severe weather June. It doesn't look to slow down anytime soon, unfortunately. So with all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.